We are live here on Chicago Bears Now. Welcome in. I am Harrison Graham. It is NFL Overreaction Monday, and nothing around the Bears really feels like an overreaction this day. It all just feels kind of factual, but we're here for another therapy session like most Mondays are. So welcome in. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Producer Rolly's with us. He is locked in not only on the ones and twos, but college basketball is back, and it is Christmas. For Nick Roloff, aka Rolly, we might work some college basketball talk into the stream today, as the Oregon Ducks and Georgia Bulldogs are battling right now at some tournament in front of about 1,300 people. But that's neither here nor there. Lots to discuss around the Bears today, so we'll start as we always do. Shout out your city and let us know where you guys are tuning in from today. And we'll keep this thing rolling here on Chicago Bears Now. Shout out your city. We got Club Dub in Fargo, North Dakota. Nick in Denver. Jesus in McAllen, Texas. We got Gordon in Chicago. Terry in Des Moines, Iowa. Nonchalant in Skokie. We got Thornton, Illinois from Maxwell. Roberts in Albany, New York. Xavier Soup in Milwaukee. Jerry in London. We got Julius in Merrillville 2.0 in Indianapolis, Berto in San Antonio, Mr. Dad, Woodstock, Illinois, Chicago Heights from Kenneth, Kevin in Stark, Florida, Sturgis, South Dakota from Brandon. We got Caden in Columbus, Willie Sprouse in Atlanta, Georgia. We got Defuk in Chicago, Illinois, Pally in Pakistan, all the way across the globe. We got East Chicago, Indiana is where Augustine is. Mike Scott in Louisville. People tuning in from all over the place. Let's get to this one. And then do we have that super chat, Rolly, or did we lose it? We'll get to that here in a second. Who's the worst coach? Like, who's the bigger problem on this coaching staff? Do you think it's the head coach, Matt Eberflus, or do you think it's Luke Getsy? I'm going to make this the live poll. I'm just curious, and it's hard to compare because it's not apples to apples, because one is the head coach, one is the offensive coordinator. And Rolly, let me know if you're following me with this. I actually think you could make a pretty strong argument that Matt Eberflus is a better coach. Like, I think this defense has improved under him. He has 4 years of defensive coordinator experience where he led some good defenses in Indianapolis. We have no idea if Luke Getsy can coach an offense to be at a high level. Now,
I follow.
But flip side of that, though, is Luke Getsy a worse OC than Matt Eberflus as a head coach? I don't know. I think the point I'm making is Matt Eberflus is probably better suited as a DC, and Luke Getsy is probably better suited as a quarterbacks coach. That's kind of where I'm getting at. Like, you've got guys who are one step above what they should be. And you see this all the time in the NFL. You hire coordinators to be your head coach. They're not prepared for it. What you can't have is what the Bears have right now. First-time general manager, first-time head coach, first-time offensive play caller. Like, someone in that nucleus has to have done the job before, and that is just not the case here in Chicago. So it's tricky. 61% of the live poll says Luke Getsy.
I might agree.
He's bad, man.
He has moments, though.
That's what's so frustrating. It's like every 3 weeks he'll play to his team's strengths. And even within the yesterday was a good example. I thought for 3 quarters he called a pretty good game, and then he just went into a shell. Now, you could almost say, if you're Luke Getsy, you could almost be like, oh, I told you so, because Bagent did melt under pressure, but it is what it is. Tito, let me answer this question in just a second, but do want to talk about our sponsors real quick here on Chicago Bears Now. Prize Picks, we've been telling you about them, the best daily fantasy sports app on the planet. Very easy. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go for more or less than their Prize Picks projections, and you can win up to 25 times your money on any given entry. Rolly's got about 12 college basketball Prize Picks entries going on right now.
Too many.
Too many to count. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS. Start cashing in today. We're also sponsored by Game Time here on Chicago Bears Now, the best ticketing service app. here on the planet. And look, when you're buying tickets to a sporting event, concert, comedy show, etc., it shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be frustrating. It should be easy. It should be painless. And with Game Time, it is. They'll also show you vantage points of exactly where your seats are as you evaluate which games and events you want to go to. Get started today. Download the Game Time app from your app store and use the promo code BearsChat to get $20 off. Yes, $20 off at checkout when you get started with your first purchase with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Get started with Prize Picks. We appreciate our sponsors here at Chicago Bears Now. All right, let's go to Tito here. Tired of these fake fans hating on Fields. Yes, he needs to play better, but let's not pretend this organization has done everything to help him succeed. We need to build a team around him like the Lions. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. I do think Justin Fields holds blame in some of his shortcomings. I also think the Bears, really since day one of drafting him, have mismanaged him in a lot of ways. Number one, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are allowed to draft him, even though they got fired the next year. So they draft him. Then they give him no first-team reps whatsoever his rookie year. Andy Dalton gets hurt in week 2. They throw him into the fire, and it's a disaster against Cleveland with one of the worst game plans I've ever seen. So that rookie season was kind of a loss. Then you fire that regime, bring in a GM who wants to reset the entire roster, bring in an offensive coordinator that doesn't really fit his skill set. So you got met with very up-and-down results last year. This year, it was a little more consistent, but still Luke Getsy's not playing to his strengths. You added some talent around him, but it's, it hasn't been great. But Justin's also still had some of the same problems he had coming out of college. Holds onto the ball too long a lot of the time. At times he doesn't process well. So it's a combination. I hope he can play on Thursday, and that would be very, very nice. Oh, Geezer, don't hand Velus the baby. I don't know what the baby is, but... if Velus Jones, don't hire him as a nanny, if you will, because he has butterfingers.
He will drop the kid.
Oh, man. You know what sucks? And this is true of Fields. It's true with Velus. It's like, first of all, Justin Fields is much better at his job than Velus Jones. Let me get that out of the way. These two guys seem very likable. But Velus in particular, he's just bad. Like, it's just like... And some of it's like, it's not even all his fault. Like, if he was a 6th-round pick, who would really care? And that's probably about what he should have gone, 5th, 6th round. Ryan Poles tried to be a genius and take him in the 3rd round because of his athletic profile. And it's like, he's not that guy. And
you're not that guy, pal.
It's unfortunate.
You're not that guy.
It is what it is. We will get all Super Chats on the show, so if you send them in, we will answer them. Pick a 2024 quarterback. I'm going to change the live poll to this now.
And
Justin
there
Fields,
is only
Caleb
one right
Williams,
answer.
Drake Maye.
In the latest PFF mock, they had the Bears taking a certain quarterback on this list to pair up with.
I took Maye in our last one.
Yeah, but in PFFs today, they actually had the Bears taking Drake Maye and Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2-3.
That would be incredible.
Oh, I mean, it would move mountains. Drake Maye slinging the pill to DJ Moore
Marvin Harrison Jr. I do think if you do get 2 top 3 picks, you actually don't trade down. You take a quarterback and Marvin Harrison.
I actually think if you have picks 2 and 3, you're staying there.
Yeah.
If you have picks like 1 and 3.
If it's 1 and 3 and the team picking it 2 or 3 just loves one QB over the other, sure you trade down. But I'm not trading down below 3 because I want Marvin Harrison.
At worst.
So you could trade down from 1 to 2 or from 1 to 3 and then pick it 2 and 3, but
I tell you what, the people still are in on Justin Fields, and I don't want to rile up the fan base again, but I just don't get it.
I will say this, Rolly. I think games like the last, especially yesterday, where Getsy is actually dialing it up for Tyson Bagent and calling plays that make sense, and then in the 4th quarter he goes away from all that. There are things that when you watch, you're like, it's not all the quarterback, man. Like, it's not all the quarterback. Now, what I'll also say is just think logically. You're Ryan Poles. Do you want to run it back year 4 of Justin Fields, and if he is awesome, then you have to pay him, and that's going to eat up a lot of your cap? Or do you want to reset quarterback, have him be cheap for 4 or 5 years, and still continue to build the roster? Like, unless you're sold on Fields, option 2 is the more logical one.
Yeah.
The never-ending cycle.
Questions. It will be one fun off season in Chicago.
The interesting thing is going to be, and I know you keep saying it's impossible, there's no chance. But if you're not picking in the top 2, what happens? Do you trade up?
Chance.
Do you trade up into the top 2? Do you roll it back? I don't know.
I will say, and I think specifically to the Bears situation, say you have picks 3 and 4, I think you do run it back to Fields.
And just go Marvin Harrison, Olu.
Yeah. Or all, whatever one you like better.
Yeah. I think I would do that too. And I said that earlier today. Like, if you're Justin Fields, control what you can control. When you get back, you need to play probably the best football of your career. And what you can't control is what happens with that Carolina pick. Like, I mean, it just is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens there. All right, if you're ready for the real show to start, hit that like button. Like the video.
Get to 125.
Got to get to 125
60
likes.
away.
Got to get to 125 likes. 61 away. Got 350 people watching. Oh, did they score here at the buzzer?
Yeah, they lead by 10.
Dana Altman, he aligns Rubik's Cubes.
10 at the break.
Georgia, Oregon could be a college football playoff preview, potentially. Hit the like button. Let's go. Let's go. Aaron says, you know it, Harrison and Rolly. I don't know what we know.
We know everything.
I was actually going to say the opposite. I was going to say we don't know much, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. Laktara say, get the hashtag Team Rollies going in the chat.
Yeah.
Is he on your payroll by now?
Should he?
All right, let's hit a couple super chats, then we'll hop into the show. Hit that like button. Julius Bajent was successful on bootlegs and rollouts off play action in the first half. Then Getsy moved away from it with mostly pure dropbacks in the second. Make it make sense, Julius. It's all very frustrating. Here's one. Trade Rolly for blank. The Bears need to take a page out of the Raiders book, get rid of the staff. This is BS trying to prove a D2 is better than a first-round pick, and it blows. I will say this. I kind of did want to discuss this on the show. I might mention it during this first segment when we talk about Matt Eberflus. For those saying firing a coach mid-season doesn't make sense, like, the Raiders played by far their best game of the year as soon as they got rid of their head coach. Now, I will say this. I actually think players in the Bears locker room at least have a level of respect for Matt Eberflus. I think it was pretty clear, Rolly, watching this Raiders things play out. Not only did they not respect Josh McDaniels, they fucking hated him. Like, they could not stand that guy. I don't think that's the case with Flus. I don't think Flus is a very good coach, especially as a head coach. I think he can coach defense, but I think there's some respect there. Like, I think the players do respect him. They may not believe in him, but I do think they respect him. That was not the case in Vegas. However, I still think it's a good argument to be had of, hey, sometimes making a midseason change, there's value to it. So I don't think they're going to, but if they lose to Carolina, maybe that changes.
I'll say this, Harrison, is Ogeezer, thanks for $2 super chat. It actually has nothing to do with that Bears discussion. But I think we're going to have a rivalry brewing inside the comment section in between Rolly's next beard and trade Rolly for. Seems like those two are going to be good friends.
Those two are, it's the new Manning Brady.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the new Drake May Caleb Williams. Who knows?
I honestly think it would be cool if those two were in the same conference and were same rivals. Division.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Yeah, I guess technically Cardinals, Bears, if they traded Kyler. Kyler Murray,
thank God. I'll tell you what. Thank God the Packers won this week.
Yes.
We need them to win a couple.
They're at
They're at 3 wins.
Okay.
Get to 5 and we're good.
Yeah.
4 you're probably good, but 5 for sure. That'll get it done. I don't know if I've been a star Ogeezer, but appreciate the love. John, we'll get to your super chat after this first segment. Appreciate you tuning in as well. We'll also answer that on our mailbag. I think that's a good mailbag question. Little John, that one that just came in. From John Falchetta. Here's what's coming up live. The latest Bears news and rumors. We have a bit of a Justin Fields update, so we'll discuss that. We'll take your questions. If you super chat, guaranteed to get on the show. Hashtag Bears. We'll take those questions as well, so load them up. Hashtag Bears, super chat, draft, off-season, in-season, whatever you got. Load those questions in. We'll also discuss Drake Maye versus Caleb Williams and Rolly.
Speaking of Drake Maye versus Caleb Williams, shout out to Tyler. They should absolutely do this. Bowl game. UNC, USC.
I think that's possible.
Let's ride.
I don't think either's making a New Year's Six. So
if let's say USC, I don't know what their schedule is. They went out.
They're 7-3.
North Carolina. Both teams either go 9-3 or Carolina would have to go 10-2. USC goes 9-3 or something like that. That would be quite the bowl game.
I mean, I don't really care what the records are. I'd like to see them play. Here's the thing, though. Would either QB play in that game?
QBs usually do play. Caleb Williams,
they
scumbag, might not. Drake Maye would.
Your boy Kenny Pickett didn't.
Well, because he's a scumbag.
There's I'm trying to think. Who were the QBs in the draft last year? Why am I blanking? Bryce Young did play. Well, C.J. Stroud was in the college football playoffs, so he obviously played. Did Anthony Richardson play the bowl game? I want to say he did not.
I also want to say he did not. But I think he might have been hurt.
I don't know about Will Levis.
Levis,
some do, some
I don't
don't.
know if Levis did.
I don't think he did either.
If they paired him up, they have to play together.
They should, the bowl should call each team and be like, hey, we want to match you guys up, but we need a signed agreement that Caleb Williams and Drake Maye are playing. Here's the rules. Whoever wins is the number one pick.
Yes.
By the way, that game, I don't care what the over-under is, it's the over.
Oh,
those defenses.
Those are the first and
North
second
Carolina teased us for the first half of the season they could play defense. They cannot.
I know you're going to tell me USC would give up 50 points, but North Carolina would legitimately give up 50 points.
It would be – I think the winner would get 60 points. I'm not joking. All right, here we go. Lots to discuss here on Bears Now Live. So stick with us here for the latest Bears news and rumors. We kick off today's episode of Chicago Bears Now with a Justin Fields injury update. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome in. Matt Eberflus had his Monday press conference earlier today and said Justin Fields is still in the limited category and that his injury status will be clearer on Wednesday. Still rehabbing, still working on gripping the football. Did throw for the first time last Friday. Sounds like he'll be doing some more throwing this week. And look, hopefully Justin Fields can play. And that's not because I'm not a fan of Tyson Bagent or anything like that. I think he's done some decent things. But you want to evaluate Justin Fields as much and as often as possible over these last 8 games because for a couple reasons. One, you want to see if he can wow you and prove he can be the franchise guy. He's done some decent things this year. And two, and maybe more relevant, if you are deciding to draft a quarterback, if you're Ryan Poles, you'd love to increase that trade value. I mean, if Justin Fields goes out there and plays really well the rest of the way, but you want to draft Drake Maye or Caleb Williams, then trading Justin Fields, you get more value out of that if he does play well. You look at the remaining schedule. If he could give it a go against Carolina and play well, then you got 10 days off before a divisional opponent in Detroit. That's a great opportunity to play well against a good team. At Minnesota, another primetime game there. That's a good opportunity. Detroit out of the bye at Cleveland. That's a good opportunity against a good defense. Then you can stack, hopefully, against some not-so-good teams, against Arizona, Atlanta, and Green Bay. I'm not even talking about wins and losses at this point because this team's obviously not making the playoffs, but Justin Fields, in terms of how he can play and put together some good outings, there's opportunities on the table against some good defenses to impress and to take advantage of some not good defenses and put some good tape out there, whether it's for the Chicago Bears or for another team that could potentially trade for him. I hope Fields gets back and plays well. And look, if he does his job, then it at least gives Ryan Poles something to think about this offseason. Make the call. What do you guys think will happen? Do you think Justin Fields plays on Thursday Night Football against the Panthers? Type P if you think he'll play. Type W if you think he won't. Flu's still calling him limited today. That makes me lean the other way, that it's probably going to be Bagent one more week. But we'll see how Tuesday and Wednesday go. And when Flus talks Wednesday, we should have a clearer answer. Some other injury notes from Matt Eberflus. Of course, Justin Fields day-to-day. Tremaine Edmunds also in the day-to-day category. We'll see if he gives it a go. Not too concerned there. I actually thought Jack Sanborn played well, so if Edmunds needs another week off, that's fine. Khari Blasingame has entered the concussion protocol. Safe to say he's not going to exit it by Thursday. Good news for Jaquan Brisker. He has cleared, so he will be back. And Tyreek Stevenson's also in that day-to-day category. He pulled his turned his ankle in yesterday's game. We kind of speculated did he get benched, but that wasn't the case. He turned his ankle, and they decided to not push it. Now, there is some injury notes for a couple of guys on IR here. The Bears have designated Josh Blackwell, Khalil Herbert, and Equanimous St. Brown to return from injured reserve. So their practice windows have been open. Now, we'll see if any of these three guys get activated for Thursday's game, as they've all missed, obviously, at least 4 games here. Now, I think Khalil Herbert in particular is interesting to me. With the way Deontay Foreman's been running, even Darrington Evans, we haven't seen as much Roschon Johnson as I thought we would the last couple of weeks. If Herbert's activated, what's the pecking order? Does he start? Does Foreman keep the starting job with how he's played? I think it's definitely going to be a heavy rotation, but keep an eye on that as we move forward here with the running back position. Subscribe to the channel. We will be live for a pairs. I combined Bears and Panthers. Bears versus Panthers watch party on Thursday Night Football. Trying to get to 79,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So join us for that on Thursday. We will continue to keep you guys in the loop for the latest coverage on the Chicago Bears. Let's take a look at Montez Sweat a little bit, grade his debut, if you will, as he did make his first appearance for the Chicago Bears. Yesterday, he played, I think, 42 snaps. So that's a good amount for a guy who just came over midweek. Courtney Cronin had this note in her article at ESPN saying, after generating 6.5 sacks in his first 8 games with Washington, Sweat posted a season-high pass rush win rate at 25% in his first game with the Bears, which was tied for the second best by any edge rusher in Week 9. This is why you really have to let the data come in and let the film study stuff get broken down, because you look at the stat sheet and it's like, oh, he had 2 tackles. He was impactful. Now, was he dominant? I won't go as far as dominant, but he was close a few times. He hit Derek Carr's throwing arm, which caused an incompletion. If he's there a split second earlier, that could be a strip sack. He drove the right tackle into Carr's lap more than once. I mean, and I think Carr actually did a good job of getting rid of the ball early to avoid Montez Sweat and his rushing ability. So I like what I saw from him. You would think over time, getting more acclimated with the defense, he'll have even more of an impact. I think from a long-term standpoint and point of view, I think I look at this defensive line, whereas Montez Sweat is like the first notable building block. I like bringing back Andrew Billings on the extension, but that's not like a big-time game changer. That's like a low, mid-level starter, excellent rotation guy if you improve there. But if next season you have Billings playing next to an upgraded 3-tech where it's been Justin Jones, I don't know if Javon Dexter is going to be that guy, but if not, maybe you go get somebody like Sweat, Billings, upgraded 3-tech, and we'll see number 2 edge rusher. Didn't see much from Ngakoue yesterday. I'm losing faith that he's going to do anything for this team. But I think Sweat's a good start. Billings is a nice role player, but you still got to add pieces on that defensive line this offseason. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So grade Montez Sweat's debut, A, B, C, D, or F. Considering he got traded midweek and generated some pressure, I'd give it a solid B+. We didn't see really the game-changing play or anything like that, but again, you got to factor who he's playing next to as well, which is why the Bears have to invest more in that front 4. But I'd give it a B+. Excited to see what he does the rest of this season. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Are you looking to go to a Bears game, a Bulls game, a concert in Chicago, or wherever you may live? Game Time is the best app to get tickets for the best price and in a timely manner, because sometimes buying tickets to a sporting event, comedy, or concert, whatever show, it can be stressful. With Game Time, it's not. It shouldn't be frustrating. It shouldn't be stressful. With certain apps, it is. Not with Game Time. Their goal is for you to have a good peace of mind with your purchase and to help you save as much money as possible. They also will show you your exact vantage points when you're surfing, trying to figure out what tickets to buy. So love that feature as well. And if you see a price for the same ticket area, like same row, same section, cheaper than the one you're seeing on Game Time, send a picture, send it to them. They will give you 110% credit. They want you to have the best price, best experience available. That is their goal for you. So download the Game Time app right now, create an account, use our code BearsChat when you sign up, to get $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time in your app store. Last-minute tickets for the lowest price guaranteed. Promo code BearsChat gets you $20 off. All right, let's talk about the head coach, Matt Eberflus. What is his hot seat status at this point? Maybe he's not even on the hot seat. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in Ryan Poles' brain. I mean, he gave him a pretty strong endorsement last week, which we'll get to here in just a second. But let's just take a closer look at where Matt Eberflus is 26 games into his tenure as the Bears head coach. He's 5-21 overall. Very bad. 0-8 in divisional games. Remember what Ryan Poles said in his introductory press conference? We're going to take the North and never get it back. Well, not only have you not even had a chance in the division, you have yet to win a game in the division. Not a good look. He suffered a 14-game losing streak. He didn't win a game at home in over a calendar year. And oh, by the way, he has yet to win back-to-back games as head coach. Like, some of this stuff, it's like, okay, you're rebuilding. Like, I don't expect Flus to, be 26 games in, like 16-10 or something like that. But, like, some of this stuff is like, you almost have to try to do it. Like, you can't run into an NFC North win. You lose 14 in a row. You go over a year without winning a game at home. You have yet to win back-to-back games. Like, let's just be honest. Flus has been bad. I'm not saying it's all on him. The roster's not great. Ryan Poles has had some misses. Players have to execute. But come on, man. Like, this is ugly. This is ugly stuff. And I'll take it a step further. Look at the quarterbacks Matt Eberflus has beaten since he's taken this job. Trey Lance, week 1 of last year. Anybody know where Trey Lance is? I bet there are people in the chat that don't know where Trey Lance is right now. I'll tell you. He's the third-string quarterback in Dallas. Not the backup, the third string. Davis Mills, he is C.J. Stroud's backup. Mac Jones, he's going to be a backup next year, more likely than not. Sam Howell, promising young player, but I don't think any of us can say with 100% certainty he's a franchise guy. He's probably the only player on this list that's a starter next year, though. Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer should not be in the NFL. So the point being is, you have not beaten a proven quarterback yet. Sam Howell, again, done some nice things this year. I think he's Washington's starter next year, but I don't think they're bringing out the checkbook already to give him $50 million a year. You haven't beaten a single quarterback that evaluators across the league would be like, yeah, that's a franchise guy. You haven't even beaten a lot of starters. Again, Trey Lance, third stringer. Mac Jones, not going to be a starter next year. Brian Hoyer should be selling insurance. Like, this is not good. This is bad. At some point, you have to beat somebody worth a shit. And by the way, when they beat the Panthers to prolong the inevitable for Matt Eberflus, you'll add Bryce Young to that list, a rookie who has struggled heavily this year. Like, are you going to beat somebody worth a shit or not? Because you haven't up to this point. Should the Bears fire Matt Eberflus? Type F for fire or type K for keep. What say you? I mean, I think they should fire him. I think the guy can coach defense, but I think being a head coach in this league is just way too tall of a task for him, not only from just like the X's and O's, but the in-game stuff, handling the media. He's not head coach material. And we've seen it time and time again. So type F for fire, K for keep. Let me know what you guys think. Now, here's the question. Will Ryan Poles do it? Well, this is a quote from him last week, giving a pretty strong endorsement. What I see every day, where I see him address the team, and I see his approach through adversity, it is stable. I know in the outside world it doesn't look like that, and I know it looks like we're far away. But this dude just keeps coming in every day and just keeps chipping away. Does that sound like a guy who wants to fire Matt Eberflus? Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus came into this thing together. Poles chose him. Sure, the coaching search had been narrowed down for him, but he still chose Matt Eberflus. Will Kevin Warren have to step in? Because if I'm Kevin Warren, and unless we see a drastic, and I do mean drastic finish to the season, like this team wins 6 of 8 or something like that, I am telling Ryan Poles, I don't want to keep Matt Eberflus. If Ryan Poles pushes back and says, I think he's the guy for the future, if I'm Kevin Warren, I have to reevaluate Ryan Poles at that point. Like, I just do not think you can run it back with this coaching staff. But it doesn't sound like Ryan Poles, at least from what we hear publicly, is that interested in getting rid of him. And look, I'll be honest too, Carolina coming to your place, Thursday Night Football. Excuse me. You lose that, man. Mini bye week coming up. I know we said this last time before a mini bye. If you lose to Washington, they could fire him. They won, and he has survived. I mean, I think it's back on the table, man. I think you really have to consider making a change before the next game, just if nothing else to send a message. Not because you're trying to create a spark to survive this season. At 2-8, you're cooked, obviously. But I just, at some point, like, Matt Eberflus has to prove something. And what has he proven up to this point as a head coach? Yes, the defense is mildly improved. But again, look at the quarterbacks he's beaten. No one worth anything. So I feel like making a change makes sense. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they do it. Hit the subscribe button here on the channel. Bears News, Rumors, more coverage as well. We got you here on Chicago Bears Now. And if Matt Eberflus gets fired, I promise you we'll be going live. John Falchetta, what do you think of Caleb crying for his mama? I think it's a complicated question to answer. I'd almost I don't want to rip a guy for showing emotion after a tough loss. But if I'm going to nitpick, I'd almost rather him be crying on the sideline with some of his teammates, right? Jumping into the stands and having to, go to your family. It's like, dude, you got 90 guys in that locker room and you're the leader. I'm not going to nitpick there's no crying in sports or something like that guy, but it's a tale of two things. Obviously the guy cares. You appreciate that, but you'd rather see him do that around his teammates. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to answer. The Sky Warrior, I might be biased, but Caleb Williams is a bust. Sorry. He might be. We'll find out. We'll find out. Nimale. To my fan base, I told you that Tyson Bagent would play worse than Fields. I was right. The last two games proved it. Can't wait for Justin Fields to come back. I'm not going to rip Tyson Bagent. He's a backup. Right? I think for a D2 undrafted rookie, he did some nice things, but I never once thought he was going to just become the answer. I think people out there, you see a glimmer of hope at quarterback in this town, and you're like, oh man, he can be the guy. He does things better than Fields. And yeah, I think there are a couple minor things that he probably does a little bit better, like he gets rid of the ball quickly, etc. But I also said, and I said this before his game, that's not always necessarily a good thing. Sometimes you get rid of the ball before you should, and you miss what the proper read should have been, and you're leaving yards and big plays on the table. So I think he did an admirable job for what he was asked to do. But, yeah, Fields is the starter for now, and the question is, will he be long-term? He's got a lot to prove if that's going to be the case. Ron Winarski, who is the worst coach, Eber, Luz, or Matt Nagy? I think you have to say Flus. Say what you want about Nagy. He made the playoffs twice and had an above 500 record. Matt Eberflus is 5-21. I don't think they came into the same situations. I think Matt Nagy had better rosters to deal with overall, but it's a starking difference in terms of winning and losing. Nagy had a winning record. You have to go with Nagy. Kodos, ask Madden from the Madden game franchise is better than calling plays than Eberflus. I assume you probably mean Getsy, unless you're talking about the Bears defense. But that's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. It's inconsistent at best, man. Are we out on Braxton Jones? Do we go Marvin Harrison and Olu? I'm not out on Jones. I thought he played fine yesterday. The question is if you're Ryan Poles, if you think Olu or Joe Alt, the Notre Dame left tackle, is a significant upgrade at left tackle, then that's something to consider. Now, if you're asking me if it's Marvin Harrison or Olu, both are on the table, you can only get one, I'm taking Marvin. Because I know Braxton Jones can at least be serviceable at left tackle. Even if you don't think he's the long-term guy, Marvin Harrison, to me, can be a Pro Bowler day one. That's hard for offensive linemen. It just is. So that's the question you got to answer, though. If Olu or if Alt is a clear major upgrade, then that's obviously something you have to consider because left tackle is such an important position. All right, mailbag time. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Load them up. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get those questions on the show. And we'll answer as many as we can. If you have questions about the draft, off-season, rest of this season, Carolina game, whatever, we'll load them up. Rolly says we need a few more hashtag Bears questions, so get those in there. Get those in there. What do you think about this question, Rolly? Does Caleb Williams not being emotional on the sideline or with his teammates remind you of Bo Callahan from the movie Draft Day, whose teammates didn't like him? Possible bad locker room presence. I'm going to get canceled for this. I've never watched Draft Day. I know. I led it with I'm going to get canceled for this. I know Bo Callahan's character, but I have never.
Official. Breaking news. According to league sources, producer Nick Roloff, a.k.a. Rolly, has requested a trade from Bears Now.
Grade that movie on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, it's not a good movie, but it's just absolutely electric.
Are you one of those people that watches it the day before the draft every year?
Yes, Vontae Mack, no matter what.
So what's that? So help me answer that then. What's the story
Bo Callahan, like, one of the reasons why the GM for the Browns was skeptical of drafting Bo Callahan #1 was because he found out that none of his teammates attended his 21st birthday party. And so he asked Bo Callahan, why didn't anyone attend your birthday? And it's when you turned 21. He goes, I don't really remember. I was so drunk. It's just bad. It's not a good movie. Like, when you think of
I'll tell you what. I will.
Rolly's neck beard.
I see
breaking news. Trade request was immediately declined.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I will watch it before the draft next year.
Okay.
I will do that. I will do that. Mark Peterson's is not a good movie. I call BS. Is that Matthew Peterson's brother? Because Petey loves Draft Day. You're just saying it's not good. Like, you enjoy it, but it's not a good movie.
I enjoy watching it, and I watch it every year.
That's what I'm saying.
You can objectively say
there's a lot of movies out there that, like, if you're like looking at it from like an acting standpoint and, you know, realistic this and that, like, you're like, okay, this movie sucks, but it is entertaining.
Also, coming from like NFL lens, like, are we kidding? Like, the guy is not trading all of his first-round picks for the next 3 years to move up to #1, to not actually take the quarterback, but stay at that pick, draft an edge rusher.
Is that what he ends up doing?
Yeah, Vontae Mack. Draft an edge rusher, and then somehow, some way, get all of his picks back by trading back up into the draft and then trading back into the draft, only to take a running back, get all your picks back, and then find out later, he wrote on a Post-it note earlier in the day, Vontae Mack no matter what. Come on, guys.
You know what? I take it back. I'm not promising to watch that.
No. You have to watch it. You have to watch it.
We shall see. All right.
You have to watch.
Mailbag time. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. Let's dive in here on today's show. Let's get straight into our Bears Now mailbag. I am Harrison Graham from F. Marsh. Could the Bears fire Luke Getsy but keep Matt Eberflus? And look, Ryan Poles has had Matt Eberflus's back publicly. He believes in him. He seems to like his leadership skills. If you're asking me, I think both should go. I don't think Luke Getsy is nearly consistent enough as a play caller. We see flashes of good stuff here and there, but it doesn't translate week to week. Sometimes it doesn't translate from drive to drive. Matt Eberflus, I think he knows defense. I don't think he has the entire skill set you need to be a good head coach in this league. I think he could go somewhere, be a good defensive coordinator for a long time. But I feel like both these guys are one notch above where they should be. Like, I feel like Luke Getsy could be a good QB coach and, maybe even a pass game coordinator, maybe over time a play caller, but as a first-timer here, it has not worked out. Matt Eberflus, he's just not a head coach, man. he's a defensive coordinator. And that's okay. We see this all the time. Coordinators get a head coaching opportunity. They're not capable of it. And I think with Matt Eberflus in particular, that has become very, very clear. Now, who do you think is a worse coach? Do you think it's the head coach, Matt Eberflus? If so, type ME. If you think it's Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, type LG. Basically, who do you think is the bigger problem for the Bears? ME for Flus, LG for Getsy. What say you down in the comments section? John Falchetta, what do you think of Caleb Williams crying for his mama? It's tough. Like, I appreciate the emotion of losing and caring and wanting to win, but like, I would almost rather see him share that emotion with his teammates, and maybe he did in the locker room after, but to go straight to the sideline, jump into the stands where his mom and dad are, like, yeah, I get it, they're your ride or dies, but you're the quarterback of a big-time program. Like, you got to be there for your teammates first in that moment, as crazy as that sounds. So I didn't love it. I didn't hate it like other people did. I don't have a problem with him showing emotion. I just don't know if he showed it with the right people at the right time. Like, hey, you're going to see your family after the game. Like, you can go have that moment with them then, not when cameras and millions of people are watching and you're like, wait, you're not with your teammates? I didn't think that was a great look. Daily basis, are we out on Braxton Jones? Do we go Marvin Harrison and Olu? Not out on Braxton. I thought he played pretty well against the Saints. Played 75% or so of the snaps, and then Larry Borum played the rest of them. I think he'll be full throttle for Thursday. Hopefully he continues to play well. If you're Ryan Poles and you think Olu or Joe Alt is a major upgrade at left tackle, you obviously have to very much consider that. But I think the good news about Braxton is if you want to go in a different position, different direction, you at least know he's serviceable on the left side. B. Mays and what are your thoughts on the safety position? Eddie played good yesterday, but barely hanging on. And Jaquan's concussion history is scary for us and him. Yeah, I think safety is going to have to be a position you go after, whether it's a free agent or in the draft. You hope Jaquan Brisker, even if he's going to be a guy that misses a few games a year, can at least play out this rookie contract and be productive for you. I think Eddie Jackson's done. He played okay yesterday. He looks a half step slower to me. I think that foot issue is a problem. And look, you can save over $10 million by cutting him after this year. So I think he's a pretty prime cut candidate for Ryan Poles. And unless he plays incredible the rest of the year, I would guess he's gone after this season. Carlos Ayala, maybe. Does Caleb Williams not being emotional on the sideline with his teammates remind you of Bo Callahan from the movie Draft Day, whose teammates didn't like him? Possible bad locker room presence. So Roley kind of filled me in on the Bo Callahan thing. Go ahead and cancel me. I've never seen Draft Day. I will watch it before the draft this year. I don't think it's apples to apples, but I do understand the analogy once Roley explained it to me. So I would just, I don't want to question Caleb Williams' leadership skills because I don't know what type of a leader he is. We'll see if leaks come out in the draft process, but I will say that you'd like to see him be with his teammates and be present more when those tough situations arise. DC Viper, why is Bayless, Patrick, and Borum still on this roster? What is Poles doing? Look, Borum, I think actually as a swing tackle is fine. He's definitely not great. You definitely don't want him having to start 4 or 5 games like he's had to here. But I think as a backup, it's fine. Lucas Patrick, clearly he's a good locker room presence, but he just cannot play football. I mean, he can't snap, he can't block. He has multiple penalties every week, it seems like. It's not good. And Bayless Jones, he's just bad. I mean, again, he seems like a likable guy, but that's not enough in the NFL. I mean, you got to produce. And he has not. The only time we say his name is when a negative play happens. And if that's what you're known for, you got to move on. So I said it on our Monday morning video, the Bears should cut Bayless Jones. Again, seems like a decent dude. If you want to bring him back to the practice squad, that's fine with me. But he should not be on this active roster. Today's show is Game Time, sponsored by Game Time. And listen, want to go to the Panthers game this week? Want to find the best ticket prices available? Game Time is going to do that for you. Buying tickets to an event should not be frustrating. It shouldn't be stressful. It should be easy. It should be painless. And now it is with the Game Time app. Their goal for you is to have a peace of mind with your purchase and to help you save as much money as possible when buying your tickets. Game Time wants you to have the best experience possible, whether you're at a Bears game, a Bulls game, a concert, etc. They're going to show you exactly your vantage point from your seat when you search for different areas in the arena, stadium, or venue. And they're going to give you the best prices available. And if you see a better price on a different ticketing service for that same seat or similar seat row, if you will, send a picture to Game Time. They're going to give you 110% credit there to lower that price for you because they want you to have the best deal and best experience possible. I've used Game Time on several occasions to get good prices on the day of the events, by the way. You can do that as well. Get $20 off once you download the Game Time app and create an account by plugging in promo code BearsChat. That is promo code BearsChat. After you create an account with Game Time, download the app today and get last-minute tickets for the lowest price guaranteed. Trade Roley for Eberflus should take play calling away from Betsy. I'll be honest, I don't think Flus could call 15 plays of an offense. He is just such a defensive nerd. I honestly do not think he could call an offensive game. I don't think he's capable of it. No victim here with what happened with Caleb Williams this weekend. There's no way he can lead a Bears locker room. The fans will go ahead and say it for you. I mean, I don't think one 30-second clip in a college football game is going to determine Caleb Williams' fate. I think what's going to determine his fate is A, how he can process information, see the field, and deliver the football, and B, how he can lead in the NFL. That's it. We can nitpick these clips all we want. We can say we liked it, we didn't like it. It's Twitter. It's a blessing and a curse. We debate everything. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's ridiculous. If Caleb Williams can sling the rock and put up points, I don't really care that he cried after a college football game. I don't. Kodos, what happens if we lose the game against the Panthers? I hope that means you clean house, but I don't get the sense that they would fire Matt Eberflus mid-season. That's what I would want to happen, but in reality, I actually don't think any changes would come. I think, maybe it's more confirmation that you're firing Flus after the season, but and maybe you just play out the string, but I don't think they're going to fire Matt Eberflus after this game, even if they lose. Speaking of this game, who you got? Type CHI for the Bears or CAR for the Carolina Panthers. Thursday Night Football in Chicago at Soldier Field. Let us know who you guys think wins this game. Radness personified. How far do you think Caleb is going to drop with the recent lackluster performances? Well, let's be clear about this, too. He put up 42 points against Washington and put up big numbers in a top 25 matchup, which he actually hasn't always done. He's struggled in a lot of top 25 games. He played well on Saturday. USC couldn't stop Washington, which is why they fired their defensive coordinator finally in Alex Grinch. Yeah, I think his recent play hasn't been his best overall, not necessarily including the Washington game, but I would be shocked still if the top two picks weren't Drake Maye, Caleb Williams in whatever order. Maybe a team takes Marvin Harrison top two over one of the quarterbacks, but I still think they're going to go top two. Henry Forte, what do you think we do in free agency with $75 million to spend besides extending Jalen Johnson? Well, hopefully that happens, obviously. If you don't draft a center, you need to sign one in free agency. I haven't looked at the top available centers. I think Lloyd Cushenberry is available. He's a promising young player. Not sure beyond that. Got to address center. I think signing another defensive lineman, probably to come off the edge opposite of Montez Sweat, is going to make sense. Is there a 3-tech out there you could get? I can't remember. I'll double-check real quick if DeForest Buckner is a free agent. I know he's a little bit older. He's like 30 now, but on a 1 or 2 year deal, I would be very interested in bringing him in. He is under contract through next season, but minimal dead cap penalty. So if the Colts cut him, maybe he's a guy you bring in here. But I think adding some defensive linemen is going to continue to make some sense, and perhaps a center. Club Dub, if the Bears pass on Marvin Harrison, I'm driving up to House Hall and fighting polls. I really want him to, man. What's going to be interesting is if the Bears have the number 2 and the number 7 pick. What if the Bears rally to go 5-12 or something, get the 7th pick, but that Carolina pick is number 2. there's almost no way you get Marvin there because you'd probably take a quarterback number 2, and Marvin's not making it to number 7. So be interesting to see how it all plays out, but I would really like to see Marvin Harrison in a Bears uniform for a very, very long time. Subscribe and join us for our Bears-Panthers watch party. Thursday night we'll go live at 6 o'clock Central Time. We're trying to get to 79,000 subs. At least by the end of that watch party. It'd be dope if we got there before it, obviously. But if you want daily Bears videos and live watch parties every single week, we are the channel for you. It's 100% free. Do not miss out here on Bears Now. Graham Rogers, Bears coaching candidates for me are Ben Johnson, Brian Johnson, and Bobby Slowick. What about yours? Brian Johnson, Eagles offensive coordinator, for those who don't know. Bobby Slowick, Texans offensive coordinator, who for those who don't know, and he's been cooking with C.J. Stroud. I think those are all some interesting names. I don't know about Brian Johnson. The Eagles' red zone offense woes have been a problem at times this year. Bobby Slowick, first-time coordinator for the Texans, I believe, but he's been impressive. Ben Johnson, obviously, has been a play caller longer than those other two guys, and he knows the NFC North, so I would lean him out of those three. Jim Harbaugh is a wild card at this point. Would the NFL punish him? I don't know, but I would still be interested there if he was not punished. From Eddie Jackson, do you think the Bears should keep Justin next year, build the team up, and then sign or trade for a proven quarterback because this team cannot develop a quarterback? Well, who are you going to sign? I mean, Kirk Cousins is the most notable free agent. He's coming off a torn Achilles. He's going to be 35. I mean, you have guys like Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield set for free agency. I don't think either of those guys are the answer. I mean, do you want to trade for Kyler Murray and his $50 million a year, salary? I like Kyler, but I don't know if I want to do that. That's kind of what you're looking like. I mean, is Dallas going to trade Dak Prescott? I highly doubt it. I mean, what other quarterbacks are even potentially available on the trade market that are actually worth investing in? I'm not sure. With Dre Day, I sadly don't think Caleb can handle the Chicago sports media. Well, someone's going to have to eventually. Like all these external factors, well, I don't know if he can do this, he can do that. Well, someone's got to be able to. Someone on this planet can be this team's quarterback and can handle the criticism that comes with being this quarterback. It's not different in Dallas or New York and and all these other places. And they've had guys that can do the job. So whether it's Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, or Justin Fields, that's part of the job. And if you can't handle it, that's on you. Make sure to follow me on social media at HGramNFL on Twitter. Same handle on Instagram as well. It is at HGramNFL. If you have any more questions, you guys can hit me up over there at HGramNFL on Twitter and on Instagram for more Bears talk. All right, who you guys got on Thursday? Rolly's fired up about this game.
The most meaningless football game that will ever be played.
I'll say this. Bears-Packers Week 18 might be the least juiciest Bears-Packers game of all time.
Well, that could be true.
Bears-Cardinals in a few weeks.
Oh, that game's going to stink. The only reason why I say this one is meaningless is because the Bears own both draft picks, so therefore they're really – I mean, I guess it does affect something if Carolina wins and it muddies the water a little bit.
Still think you want to win for Chicago.
Either way, the Bears come out of this in somewhat of a decent way.
If the Bears lose, you're still sitting probably with 2 top 3 picks. But if the Bears win, getting that top pick is that
number
much
one
more
becomes
vital.
a little bit more likely, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I still say it's the most meaningless football game of all time.
Evan in the chat says tie. Club Dub says 3-3 tie. It will not be 3-3.
I'm not kidding. If it was 3-3 going in overtime, I'm deleting the stream.
Shout out Daryl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Appreciate it, Daryl. Louis Williams fumbling 30 times in college is a problem. He's got a big fumbling problem. We're about to talk Drake Maye, Caleb Williams, pros and cons of each. I'll have to verbally mention this one because I left this one off. Well, I kind of hit it talking about his trying to do too much stuff sometimes. Yeah, I mean, you got to take care of the football, man. Period. Can't turn the ball over. Rolly's been waiting for this segment for a while, by the way.
I kind of pitched it, I think, late last week,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of what.
I might bring you in for some Drake Maye discussion.
Oh, yeah.
For some Drake Maye
Let me
discussion.
make sure I got that too. Okay. Two Cam good.
So what's coming up is we're going to dive into Drake Maye versus Caleb Williams, pros and cons. If the Bears draft a quarterback, which one should they lean toward? We'll break it all down here on today's show. And something tells me we're going to be talking about these two cats quite a bit over the next couple months as Rolly just injured himself, which you guys couldn't see it. But, yeah, we're going to dive into this here. Drake Maye, Caleb Williams. Let's discuss it here on Chicago Bears Now. Oh, baby, Bears fans are going to be fascinated with this episode of Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We're going to compare North Carolina quarterback Drake Maye to USC quarterback Caleb Williams and just kind of discuss if the Bears should draft a quarterback, and if they do, which quarterback should they lean toward. We got pros and cons for both of these guys, so stay tuned. Should be a fun episode here on Chicago Bears Now. Obviously, there's still the Justin Fields discussion part of this. What do you guys think? Do you still believe Justin Fields can work in Chicago? Type B for believe or D for don't. Because I'm still a Justin Fields believer. I'm just not sure I'm a Justin Fields can work in Chicago believer. As time goes on, I just think clock's ticking for that part of it. So B for believe you think he can still work in Chicago, or D for you no longer believe that can be the case. All right, we're going to start with Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback. Then we'll get to Drake Maye, so stay tuned for all of that. Let's break down the strengths and weaknesses of Caleb Williams on today's show. And let's start with the pros, then we'll get to the cons. Number one, and this is a lot of these pros and cons is kind of comparing to the other guy as well. He's got a lot of experience and more experience than Drake Maye when taking a look at these two guys. He's already started 31 career games. He's played in, I believe, 35 because his freshman year at Oklahoma, before he took over, he still got in 4 games when he was Spencer Rattler's backup. Then he took over for him. 31 career starts. He's going to start at least 2 or 3 more at USC. We'll see if he plays in a bowl game or not. But you're talking about a guy who will have, in the neighborhood of 35 college starts. That's almost 3 full seasons worth. That you like that coming out. There's a history of players who get more reps at the college level tend to pan out more frequently than guys who don't. It's Trubisky, 1-year starter, did not pan out. Caleb Williams, he's not a full 3 or 4 year starter, but 2 2/3 type seasons worth of starting games. That's going to play and give you a chance in the NFL. Number 2, he's been very productive at USC. He was productive his freshman year at Oklahoma when he did take over for Spencer Rattler. Now, obviously, Lincoln Riley offenses lead to production. We saw that with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, etc., who all played under him in college. But he's been very, very good. The completion percentage has gone up every year. The touchdown to interception ratio has always been very, very impressive. He obviously won the Heisman Trophy last year. And he's mobile. He can run the football as well. Has just under 1,000 career rushing yards and 26 rushing touchdowns. Usually he uses his mobility to keep his eyes downfield as well. If anything, he probably could run a little bit more, but he does not. But he's dual threat. He can make big-time plays. He's been very, very productive. And that gets us to key number 3, which is a blessing and a curse. We'll talk about both sides of it here as we continue with the show. He is an incredible creator. He is a highlight reel quarterback. I mean, he makes plays that maybe 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the NFL can make. Now, at times it gets him into trouble, which we'll talk about the cons side of Caleb Williams in a bit. But his ability to just kind of dance around in the pocket, use different arm angles, throw across the field, downfield, intermediate, create to run sometimes. Like, it's really impressive to watch, and it's fun to watch at times. There's no doubt about that. So you like having that in a QB prospect. The key is to keep it reined in, right? Knowing when to use that. And I think we've seen that with Justin Fields at times as well. But he's definitely very fun to watch. Like, if you're just talking about highlight reel plays, Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, advantage Caleb Williams. There's no doubt about that. Now, if you want Bears draft coverage for the next 6 months, we got you covered. Now, that doesn't mean it's only going to be draft coverage. We still have day-to-day content this season, free agency, lots of other stuff as well. But the draft is less than 6 months away, and the Bears are going to be picking very high in this draft. So we're going to be exploring quarterbacks, other prospects, mock drafts. We've got it all for Chicago Bears now. Hit that sub button. Join the movement. It's going to be a lot of fun to see it all played out. Okay, coming up, pros and cons for Drake Maye as well. The North Carolina quarterback has a ton of talent. Also, we're going to dive into that. Producer Rolly, a.k.a. Nick Roloff, he's a North Carolina football fan. Saw him play in person earlier this year. He'll give some thoughts on Drake Maye. Let's get to cons for Caleb Williams first. He holds the ball too long a lot of the time. Not every play, not all the time. Doesn't mean he can't play within structure, but kind of like Justin Fields, which was a weakness of his coming out of college, still his top weakness in the NFL. At times, he holds the football too long. And now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't draft him like, well, this is just another Justin Fields. Like, every quarterback prospect's different. They all have different strengths. They all have different weaknesses. There could be reasons different reasons for why he holds the ball too long. But in the NFL, you got to pick your spots on when to take that extra half second, full second, to try and create a bigger play. You can't do it all the time. I think that's what's gotten Justin Fields into trouble is at times he's hunting the big play too much or he's just not seeing it quick enough. You've got to know when that internal clock goes off. And at times with Caleb Williams, it's definitely been a weakness for him. There's no doubt about it. Okay, Prize Picks, today's sponsor here on Chicago Bears Now. More, less, stat projections. It's that easy. That's all they ask you to do. Pick 2 to 6 players on any given entry, and if they will go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection. For example, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Whenever you're watching this, you can pick a quarterback, you can pick a running back, you can pick a wide receiver, and if they will go for more or less than their stat projections, and you could throw that into one entry and win up to 25 times your money. Join rapper Meek Mill, comedian Andrew Schultz, and several other Prize Picks players and place your entries today. Oh, by the way, I should mention this as well. Not only can you make NFL picks, college football, college basketball, Major League Baseball's over, but when that's back, you can do that. NBA, NHL, tons of sports to make your entries on. Start cashing in today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 when you sign up. Check that link and promo code in the comments and in the description of this video. A couple more cons for Caleb Williams before we get to Drake Maye. Number 2, and I think this is a big one. He tries to be Superman too much. And this one kind of ties into con number 1. Sometimes you can just take the easy completion, but he wants to create something bigger. And sometimes it leads to an unreal 70-yard touchdown. Other times it leads to him fumbling the football, which he has a ton of fumbles, 30 fumbles at the college level. Like it's so many. You can't do that in the NFL and expect to get away with it that often. His creativity is a blessing and it's a curse. Sometimes you just got to take the easier play. It's been true with Justin Fields. Hey, quick 7-yard curl route, just throw it. It's there. Take the 7 yards, move on. Now, it's awesome when a play breaks down to have that mobility and the arm strength to make those 50-yard plays, but you're not going to do that 5, 6, 7 times a game. You got to pick your spots on when to do that, and I think at times this season in particular, Caleb Williams has gotten a little too greedy and has not always taken the easy play. He's tried to throw on that Superman cape a little bit too much. Okay, last one, and this is, you could say this is nitpicky. You could say it's super relevant. It's probably somewhere in the middle. His numbers dip pretty notably against top 25 teams. You look at this graphic from a few weeks ago that it was either ESPN or Fox. This might have been a Fox game. Non-top 25 total stats versus top 25 total stats. Pretty stark, right? Now, he's had a couple of duds in his career, which I think really deflate that. Like that Notre Dame game earlier this year, he played terrible. And so that really deflates it. Obviously, there's less volume there. So one really good or one really bad game can really sway the numbers there. So I think you have to keep that in mind. Also, what's noteworthy, this was a graphic before the Washington game, and I know USC lost this weekend, but Caleb Williams played really well in that game. So those numbers against top 25 opponents is actually better than what that graphic shows. But it is noteworthy. I mean, those are pretty stark numbers versus weaker competition and stronger competition. In the NFL, you're playing good teams every week, man. So you got to be able to play at a high level. Obviously, it's going to be different playing the Eagles versus playing, insert bad team on the schedule, Arizona Cardinals, whatever the case may be. But you got to be able to play at a high level regardless of who you're playing. Okay, let's get to Drake Maye now. Pros and cons. He can make all of the throws from the pocket. I think that's what's really impressive for Drake Maye. And it doesn't mean Caleb Williams can't. It just, what I see from Drake Maye is he's more willing to stand in there and make all the throws from the pocket. And I think he is the better pocket quarterback. Some of that, I think he's got the framework of that. He's 6'5", 225. Caleb Williams at 6'1". Sometimes he's got to move around to see over his offensive linemen. So you could add that into another check into Drake Maye. He's got the better physical build that you would like in a quarterback, but that is noteworthy. Number 2, a little less experience, but he has been very productive, just like Caleb Williams. He's put up some monster numbers in his 2 seasons as a starter for North Carolina. Been right around a 66% completion guy. 58 touchdowns to 12 picks in almost 2 full seasons now. He runs the ball pretty well. We'll talk about his mobility here in a sec. He's put up big numbers, and something he hasn't had compared to Caleb Williams, although this year I'd say it's pretty even, to be honest. Caleb Williams last year in particular had much better talent around him. This year I think it's evened out. Jordan Addison's not at USC anymore. Drake Maye has Montez Walker, who's a pretty good player, but it's not like North Carolina has clear better talent than USC. And you see it with the rushing yards there, very underrated mobility. I mean, he's actually been more productive as a runner the past 2 seasons than Caleb Williams has. Now, I think sometimes Caleb Williams just keeps the eyes downfield and will throw more on times when he probably should run, but Maye's a willing runner. He will fight for first downs. You like that. Look, in today's NFL, if you don't have some dual threat ability, it's hard to come into this league and be a high-level quarterback from day one. So being able to move is very, very important. Now, let me ask you guys. Rolly was pissed when I put this question in the show today.
Boo.
Does Mitch Trubisky, former North Carolina quarterback, give you pause when the thought of drafting Drake Maye comes to mind? Type Y for yes or type in for no. I'm telling you it should not, but I want to know if it does. Be honest with me. Don't lie. Yes, no, what say you? Get your answers in the comments. Drake Maye cons. Only a 2-year starter. That only is kind of a tough word to use there because 2 years is pretty decent experience, especially nowadays where guys are just told to go. I mean, the money's too hard to pass up. So I'm not overly concerned there. I think 2 years of tape is certainly plenty. You'd love to have 3 like Caleb Williams is almost going to have, but I'm not overly concerned there. I don't think, 8, 9 extra starts, whatever the case may be, from Caleb Williams compared to Drake Maye is like the reason you take him over Drake Maye. But the point is every rep is critical. I think we've seen that with Tyson Bagent. I think a main reason he has made it in the NFL is because he had so many reps in college. I mean, the guy has played so much football that, yeah, he's got physical limitations, and sure, he may never be a high-level starter, but he's seen a lot. And, 2 years compared to 3 or 4 is certainly a notable difference there. Number 2, he does have careless plays at times. I was talking to Rolly. I was like, hey, give me a weakness here. And he goes, well, at times he'll be getting hit, he'll be getting sacked, and instead of just going down, he'll try to, throw the football off one leg while getting hit, kind of like Patrick Mahomes. He's, known for that. He'll have defenders, wrapped his feet around, and he still has the arm strength to make the throw. And it's okay, every once in a while, if it's a check down or something, yeah, still get it out. But what you can't have is trying to do too much and that leading to backbreaking turnovers. Sometimes it's okay to take a sack. And I would tell the same to Caleb Williams. He'll do Superman stuff, and then he'll end up fumbling. Sure, you love the big plays that happen as a result of that, but you got to find that balance, and I think that's true with both of these guys. And then number 3, it's not like something that can't be ingrained in him, but he hardly ever slides. I mentioned it earlier. He fights for first downs. He's a willing runner and willing to take hits, which, look, 3rd down, you got to convert. That's a different deal. But if it's 1st and 10 and you could get a first down by by taking a hit from a linebacker or just taking 8 yards by sliding in front, just slide, man. Get to the next play. We've seen Justin Fields take way too many hits here in Chicago. Actually more in the pocket for holding the ball too long, but some as a runner as well. You just got to limit those. Otherwise, your career is going to be cut short because of that. So that should be an easy thing to coach into him. But I did want to mention just that. Before we get to the last question, I want to bring Rolly in here, get some thoughts going on Drake Maye as I've talked through the pros and cons. A lot of you guys know our producer, Nick Roloff, a.k.a. Rolly, big North Carolina football fan. He's seen Drake Maye play in person, and obviously he's a big fan of his. So when you look at Drake Maye and you can tie Caleb Williams into it, Rolly, you guys let us know. CW for Caleb Williams, DM for Drake Maye. Who would you rather have? What do you see? I mean, I know going into the season it was kind of not a joke, or I'd say more of a bit when you're like, oh, Drake Maye, he's better than Caleb Williams. Well, some national guys have now shifted in that direction here when you compare these two quarterbacks.
Well, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, and the reason why I've always been someone that, yes, it was more of a bit earlier on in the season. I didn't expect it to actually become this close 10 weeks into the college football season. But the reason why I was always thinking that Drake Maye could potentially be someone that is taken number 1 overall instead of Caleb Williams is because of his frame. He's 6'4", he's 6'5". He has, it's been the lazy comparison, and I hate to make it as well, but he is very similar to Justin Herbert in the fact that he is so lengthy. He's mobile.
Dane Brugler said the same thing, by the way.
He has a rocket of an arm. So it feels like a lot of people are comparing him to Herbert. I know Dan Orlovsky did it last year. Brugler does it. Seems to be everybody's comparison. So I hate to just hop on that bandwagon and say he is Justin Herbert, like as a prospect. But he really can do it all. And both these guys, it's hard to really think of cons, as hard as it is to say that out loud. It feels nitpicking when you do try to say cons for these two quarterbacks. Listen, I think any two of these guys, it's hard to say that it's a guaranteed lock of a hit.
Yeah.
And I know we said this for that quarterback class with Fields, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. It's hard to think that these two guys are both not going to be good at all. Look, to me, they're both going to be top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL.
As you and I both know, as the chat knows, quarterback, a lot of it's fit, man. You got to have the right pieces in place. You got to have the right coaching staff. I'll say this, if Luke Getsy's the OC, I think Drake Maye's the better option.
That does make sense.
If you're asking someone to play with rhythm and structure, I think Drake Maye's the better option. But even then, I still don't want Getsy because Maye is a good when the play break down quarterback as well. Like you want him to do those things when the time is right. So we'll see, man. I mean, we're going to talk about these two quarterbacks a lot over the next several months. We'll dive into some other ones as well. J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Quinn Ewers. We'll continue to crank out the draft coverage, which is why you subscribe to the channel because, let's be honest, it's going to be an interesting few months to see what Ryan Poles ends up doing at the QB position. That's why you subscribe. We'll see you soon. What do you guys think? Caleb Williams or Drake Maye? Pick a quarterback. The live poll, for what it's worth, Rolly, it also had Justin Fields in it. More Drake Maye votes than Caleb Williams.
I don't know if it's because of me or not, but I feel like I've been able to somewhat sway Bears fans into, if they had to pick,
I feel like they didn't.
Drake Maye and Caleb Williams, they kind of on Drake's side.
I feel like they also didn't like Drake or Caleb Williams crying with his parents after the game.
Yeah,
they were not
seems
fans
that
of
way.
that.
Seems that way.
Drake is a frat bro from Johnny Chimpo. He's got a big-time baby face. There's no doubt about that. He's got the baby face going. Which, by the way, Justin Herbert had too. I mean, you want to keep making comparisons. Drake looks bloated.
I will say, when he wears his helmet, his face looks very weird in the helmet. That's a con. Looks weird in a helmet. And it's hard to look
Caleb
weird.
Williams more aesthetically pleasing?
Yes.
Although the fingernail thing is pretty brutal.
That's not great.
Pretty brutal. All right. Well, Rolly and I got to get out of here. Good show. not normal live Thursday because Thursday Night Football. Quick turnaround.
Woo!
Let's go. I'll tell you what, if the Bears lose Thursday, I think it's time for a fresh batch of Matt Eberflus replacements.
Oh, yes, it is.
Stay tuned for that. I'm Harrison Graham. Follow me on Twitter at HGrahamNFL. We can continue the conversation over there. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Bears content. Also, we'll see you guys soon. Bear down. We'll see